Folks, welcome into That Betting Show, January 11th, 2019. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow at Teddy_covers on Twitter. I'm Donnie Seymour. Give me a follow also at Rightside VP. This is That Betting Show, one-stop shop for all your sports gambling needs. It's a football Friday today at sportsbookreview.com. We're going to go over each and every one of these divisional round football games. What hot topics of the day always pop in. Teddy, we talked yesterday. Interesting basketball game going down in Texas, in San Antonio. LaMarcus Aldridge drops 56 points in a double overtime win. The home dogs get the call yesterday versus Oklahoma City.
Yeah, what a game. Double OT thriller. And obviously monster numbers from a lot of guys. You know, Russell Westbrook with another triple-double in that ball game. But the difference maker, the Spurs didn't have a good shooting night from three-point range. They didn't have a great shooting night from three-point range. They had arguably the most epic night from three-point range you're ever going to see. 16 of 19 from beyond the arc. Bertans, Mills, and Bellinelli off the bench, 12 of 13 three-point shooting. When you're hitting better than 80% from beyond the arc, you better cover that point spread. Took them double OT to do it.
That was amazing. I mean, when you look at those three-point numbers, Teddy, it almost looks like, are you sure they're not from the free throw line and not from three-point range? So awesome. It's just a super impressive game down there for San Antonio pulling out the win. Folks, if you haven't done so yet, give us a follow at SBR Sports Pics on Twitter. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel. As Teddy and I always say, each and every day, hit the subscribe button. You'll get that notification every single time we go live here with a new show, SBRodds.com. Catch all those latest odd movements. And Teddy, talking about odds moves yesterday, many people counting their money already on an Oregon winner late in that game, up by double digits, 17 points with under 10 minutes to go. Crazy finish in the last minute, Teddy. As we always like to say in this industry, do not count your money until that final clock says zero. Teddy, crazy game up in Eugene last night.
I mean, it really was. UCLA coming back from 9 points down in the final minute against Oregon, and then they beat the Ducks in OT. That doesn't happen a whole lot. Oregon, of course, was the favorite in that contest. They closed -3, -3.5 at most books, and there was a little bit of refuse to lose for the Bruins in that. There was a little bit of Oregon screwing up, but it wasn't like the Ducks were missing a ton of free throws. UCLA just hit everything down the stretch. That was not a great result for the house. There was a fair bit of Bruins money, and according to ESPN stats and info, the sixth largest final minute comeback in Division I history. When you're sixth all time, that's a pretty good comeback. The Bruins now 3-0 under Murray Bartow.
Yeah, no, really good start under that. You know, it looks like maybe get that coaching change to get these kids going into Pac-12 play. One of the more interesting plays you're going to see, Teddy, like an NFL game where you're just waiting for the onside kick and it very rarely happens, even more less this year than in past histories, is the missed free throw when you're down 2. Because let's take a look at the point spread perspective again. If you're holding a ticket with Oregon -3, you're loving the fact that they're missing free throws on purpose. With time left, you get the rebound, they're going to foul, gives you the extra added chance, bounces perfectly, Teddy. UCLA lays it up and gets to overtime. Just a crushing blow. But we've all been there before as gamblers, right?
Well, there was I mean, for as bad as that was, I really think there was a worse one last night. Northeastern, -10 at Elon. The Huskies won that game by 11. In overtime! Oh, man, you got the points with Elon. You're like, yeah, we're good. We're going to OT. Yeah, OT is not good enough when you lose by 11 and you're fouling with 3 seconds left. That's tough. So, yeah, bad beat for Oregon, kind of. Worse beat if you got into the mid-majors last night. And they're out there just about every night in college hoops.
No, it's always interesting. We always like to say, you know, you can put it on your tombstone there, is the fact that when you go to overtime, that's where the dogs go to die. Those are some painful losses because you're just praying like, why can't they just win by 1, 2, or 3? Why can't it happen? You go to overtime. We've seen it time and time again. Switch it up, Teddy. Hot stove. It's cold on the East Coast, still warm on the West Coast, still waiting for some things to go through, but some backdoor maneuvering. We see this a lot, Teddy, in college football. You know, let me hire your high school coach in hopes that I get that big-time recruit. Now the Philadelphia Phillies employing the same exact MO out there, hiring Bobby Dickerson, who was a key influence for Manny Machado in Major League Baseball, to see if that's going to push him over the edge. But I love the rumor mill. How about if we pick up the phone and call Manny Machado's high school coach, Teddy, and ask him where he's going? We're working all the beats here on the hot stove, Teddy.
And frankly, it's worth doing. You know, if you're going to make a $250,000 commitment, or what's Machado going to make? You know, a $250 million commitment.
Yep.
What's he going to make? $300 million, $200 million, whatever he makes. Yeah, spend $100,000 and hire his high school coach. You know what I mean? Or $200,000, whatever it takes. It's pennies on the dollar for what, in theory, you're going to get with Manny Machado. All that being said, I'm telling you, the Machado signing will be a disaster for whatever team gets him. Whatever team gets him will be trying to dump him. I'll put the over under 2.5 years before he's on the trading block.
Yeah, I mean, look at all that money you're spending around. Let's just say Manny Machado or Bryce Harper goes for $30 or $35 million a year, what their asking price is. You can get 3 players at $10 million a year and sort of shuffle around when we're seeing some of those buy lower options there. Jed Lowry to the Mets, 2 years, $20 million. Brian Dozier to the Nats, I believe a 1-year deal, $8 million. There's always going to be that philosophy, but sometimes these owners want to make that splash, get these guys in camp, help ticket sales, help TV ratings. I understand that all goes into it, but when are we going to put it in, Teddy? We're betting guys, right? When is Manny Machado, Bryce Harper watch going to end? Is it going to end before the Super Bowl or the day after the Super Bowl where they can get their shine? Or, who's going to come into Major League Baseball pitchers and catchers and make their one? Where do you put this at, Teddy? Is it coming to a conclusion sooner? Could we see this even drag into spring training?
That's an interesting question, and it's not one that I thought about before I went on air. So I'm going to put an over-under. Let's think about it for a minute because I haven't done a ton of research. Let's put an over-under. Is it for one guy or both guys?
I'm going to say both guys because I think it's almost like a domino.
For both guys to be signed, I'll say after Super Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday sounds to me like a good day. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could just break it in and make it after it. You want the headlines to yourself. All these guys, the owners, they want to make the big splashes. The agents want to make the big splashes. Take the picture with the big check up there. I can hear you on that and certainly back you up there. NFL divisional round line moves, Teddy. Not much going over right now here. Almost the calm before the storm. I know we always have fun on Sundays when that odds board lights up like a Christmas tree, fireworks going on. Haven't seen that quite yet, so we'll see if it settles in. But then again, with 4 games out there, there's only so much movement we're going to get. Also, a little bit of more weather information coming in. Could there be some possible snow, Teddy, in Kansas City that might affect that total? Still sitting at 57 at the time of taping. Moving forward here, Teddy, do we anticipate any big line moves here unless we see some snow or no snow? We pretty much settled in at these numbers here.
Big line moves are done. You won't see them in any game. If you see them in any game, it'll be literally when the first line gets posted. By the time the lines are mature, Sunday night / Monday morning, you're not going to see any big line moves. Not now, not all week, not between now and kickoff. Remember, there's a couple issues to consider here. One is that it's going to take more money to move a playoff game point spread than it will to take a regular season game point spread. It's only 4 games this weekend. There's more action coming on all of them. The books will stay on their numbers unless they are forced off of them. That's only going to happen with a big volume of one-sided action, which obviously we haven't seen all week on these games. That's why the numbers are where they are right now. So I don't anticipate a lot of line moves this week, next week, Super Bowl Sunday. The line moves will come immediately upon opening. They're not going to come as the week progresses, with the exception of this total in Indy KC. I've been hearing reports they had light snow. I heard another report today, chance of freezing rain. If the conditions are lousy at Arrowhead tomorrow, the money will pour in on the under. You can count on it. But as of now, a little bit of light snow. It's the wind that affects the offenses more than a thing like the snow does. And obviously freezing rain wouldn't be good for team speed for either squad. So that's something to watch and pay attention to over the course of the next 24 hours.
It is a Football Friday here at the channels at sportsbookreview.com. Watch what you bet segment. We're all going to be watching these 4 games in the divisional round, Teddy, or you should be watching these 4 games in the divisional round. We'll start right up. The Red Hot Colts to be cooled off in Kansas City. Dome team going outside, maybe a little bit of wind in the forecast, maybe some rain as we talked about, or snow heading into this one. Current lines right now, Teddy, sit with the Colts and the Chiefs. Chiefs -5.5, total of 57. We'll keep an alert on that to see if we get any weather conditions over the next 24 hours that might impact that. Money line, a little bit juicy there, -225 for the home team, +185. Coming in, one team red hot. Obviously, we know being a rest, being a home team, you should have the advantage at Arrowhead, but that hasn't played into it the past few years. Heck, even the past decade or so. The home playoff record stands for itself with Kansas City. It's not very good, but Andy Reid off a bye. Can they overcome that and push forward? We did see a little bit of chink in the armor through the season with the Kansas City Chiefs once they lost Kareem Hunt, but now she gets Spencer Ware back for the run. We'll see if they get Sammy Watkins, their number 2 wide receiver, back here. Teddy, early conditions here, looking forward to this. Is this just the road teams getting points? Let's see what happens in this one. Or is Kansas City going to survive and say, you know what, we're going to put our foot down here. We're the best team in the AFC, and we're going to show it on Saturday?
I think the winner of this game goes to the Super Bowl. I think the winner of this one is going to be better than either the Patriots or the Chargers next week. So whatever team wins here, it's going to have an edge moving forward. Indy's the hottest team in the NFL. They've won 10 of their last 11 ball games. Their statistical profile is tremendous during that span. The only team top 5 offense, top 5 defense in terms of the advanced metric numbers during this run. You have a QB with experience against a QB with no experience in the postseason. And I know we saw last week all the QBs without experience. Bye-bye, one and done, every one of them. So there are some pretty strong cases to be made for the Indianapolis Colts in this ball game. That being said, the Chiefs' defense, I continue to think, is underrated. I really do. Kansas City, their numbers are lousy over the course of the season. They've made stops when they had to. The pass rush has been there, and a lot of the yardage numbers that the Chiefs have given up has more to do with the fact they've been leading by margin. Sure, you guys want to chunk out first downs, knock yourself out. KC's defensive numbers do not scare me away from the Chiefs' side, even though Indy's defensive numbers are by far the better of the two, and the defensive dogs in general tend to be good to go. Obviously, dogs 14-1 ATS. I'm seeing 12-1-2. All these numbers bounce around. My numbers show 14-1 ATS to the dogs over the last 2 postseasons. The only team to cover in the favorites role was the New England Patriots in the divisional round last year.
Yeah, impressive there. Colts come in, Teddy, 5-4 straight up on the road, but impressive 6-3 ATS. We'll see if that plays out. I actually like the under in this game because I think, you're throwing it in there, 57, a playoff game, outdoors, a little bit colder conditions. I think maybe a little bit closer to the vest. That's a big number, 47, 45, 44, a little bit different there. I'll take the under here in this one. Looking forward next, Teddy, Saturday Night Showdown. Should get big ratings here. Look. Big D traveling out to Los Angeles. This one should be fun. Saturday Night Showdown, Teddy, still showing some money coming in here on the Rams. -7, -115 total of around 50. Money line -340, 275 split. Dallas coming off the win last week against a team, that sort of kept their quarterback under wraps, tried to force feed it on the ground. Didn't work out for him. A little bit more of a high-flying, up-tempo offense coming in for the Rams. Interesting battle here. Is it going to be another game plan for the Dallas Cowboys? Ted, it says, Zeke, lead us to victory, or we are going to die on this battlefield today. Or is it going to be Jared Goff rising up with McVay, who got the loss last year versus the Atlanta Falcons, saying, we've been there, we're ready to move on, we're ready to make our claim. Here's the best team in the NFC. Cowboys, Rams.
I definitely think that side correlates with total in this ballgame, certainly on the Dallas side. Dallas is not primed to win a shootout in L.A. If the Rams get into the 30s here, I think the Cowboys are going to have trouble because you said it. This game's about Zeke Elliott. If the Rams can contain Zeke Elliott, LA is going to win and cover. Dak Prescott is not going to go on the road with this banged-up receiving core and outscore this Rams team. It's going to be a problem. But if this suspect Rams run defense can't stop Dallas from chunking out first downs on the ground, Jared Goff's going to be on the bench, or on the sidelines. And the Dallas offense is going to be grinding out yards and keeping the explosive Rams attack sidelined. Dallas is live to win the game, let alone cover the point spread. So that's your handicap. Zeke Elliott's running. Dallas is live. Zeke Elliott gets stuffed. Cowboys ain't winning this game, and they're probably not covering this point spread.
Yeah, and when you look at this game, Teddy, because you saw last week, Seattle, even though they did have the lead at one point here, you never felt threatened if you're the Cowboys if the game was going to get away. So you could still keep with the running game, the short passing game, run your quarterback. If we look at this game where you say, you know what, McVay's going to open it up a little bit, and you do get a healthy Todd Gurley, it's one of those games where I completely agree with you because if the Rams are going to say, look, we're going to jump out 7-0 right away, maybe take a 14-3 lead, that's going to force Dak out of his, MO where he just wants to be a game manager. Let's run the football and keep it close. Because when you saw the game against the Philadelphia Eagles where they were just throwing bombs because nobody was back there in coverage, but when you get teams with really good defenses, they're going to pressure them. It is going to make for an interesting dichotomy in that game. 7 right now. I'm still waiting to see where that final line is going to end up, but I think the Rams are good enough to win this football game. And you're right. If they win, they're going to get the cover. I don't see this game more likely being Teddy 17-14 style. I think this is going to be played into the high 20s and 30s, which is going to lend me to a cover for the Rams. How about the total in this game, Teddy? I know you have a correlation. If you're just looking at it right now, do you have a feel for this game? If you're just looking at 49, does this have a sense that, it's more likely to go over the total than under the total at this point?
Well, I mean, we've seen the Cowboys play stellar pass. Remember the game against the Saints where they held New Orleans to 10 points and they were all over Drew Brees. It's not like Dallas doesn't have a pass defense at times. But I don't know that it's as consistent. But in my mind, there's no way I'm making a bet on this total without a corresponding bet on the side. If you think the Rams are going to move the football in this game, it's the Rams and over. If you think that Dallas can control the game on the ground, it's Cowboys and under. That's the way to maximize your return on investment. But of the two correlations, the Rams could win this game, 30-14. Dallas can't win this game 35-31. It's just not, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. They had the one game against the Giants, so they got in the 30s on the road, but that was the exception rather than the rule. That was week 17 or week 16, whatever it was, where Dallas came to play. The Giants didn't really bring it. I expect the Rams to bring it.
Yeah, another interesting point, Teddy, I know you're going to talk about in just a little bit on off the mic, but last week when you're looking at Seattle's offensive line, not even a comparison to be compared to what Dallas is going to go up to against the Rams offensive line. Should be some fun to watch. Chili Foxborough sets the stage, Teddy. Chargers and the Patriots. Patriots holding a -4, 47.5 over under. Money line -200, +170 split. We all know how good New England is at home in the playoffs. We all know how good New England is down the stretch in Foxborough in December, but now you're getting a battle-tested team darn near unbeaten on the road, heading in and catching points. But are we just looking back and say, you know what? The favorites here aren't covering. The dogs are covering. It's 4 points. I know Phillip Rivers can keep it close. Are we shortchanging the Patriots at home, Teddy? Only -4 right now?
I don't know that we are. Because when you grade out the personnel on these two teams, grade out player by player, Brady versus Rivers, offensive lines, receivers against cornerbacks, there's no edges for New England. Where do the Patriots have an edge in this game? I can't think of one. Where when you grade out the personnel, New England can exploit this. New England's better than. No, they're not. Brady's not better than Rivers even at this stage of his career, and I'm not a huge Rivers fan. Brady was not great down the stretch. Now, maybe off a bye, he'll be better this week. But, if you watch Tom Brady in December, he looked like a tired 40-something-year-old quarterback, which he is. All right. The Patriots the Chargers should have Hunter Henry in the lineup this week. That's a difference maker for Rivers. When you're talking about a playmaker at tight end who's been out all year. Melvin Gordon likely to go for LA. So I can't lay with New England, even with that postseason track record, because when I grade out the two teams, the Chargers are the better of the two teams. Now, spot-wise, you're very concerned about the spot. Of course, traveling west, traveling east. 5 times in 7 weeks the Chargers have traveled east. Now, changed time zones, flying out, including each of the last 3 weeks where they've flown and traveled with time zone changes. And we have a New England home field edge that has been pretty darn strong in the postseason, as you mentioned. Hard to step in front of that, no question. The history says Patriots. Personnel-wise, I'm not so convinced.
Yeah, no, not your mother's Patriots or your father's Patriots, as you always used to hear growing up in the house. This team has shifted to more of a ground game. Not as much explosivity, Teddy, as we've seen in the past out of New England, and we're going to lean on their offensive line. Same thing with the Chargers, also one of the slower teams. I mean, look, Phillip Rivers is great. There's a lot of weapons out there. Huge play offense at this point? Probably not, and they do like to slow it down, make a lot of changes. I like to lean on the under in this game of that 47 or 47.5, depending where you're shopping at. One last game, Sunday night, 4:40 p.m. The Dome's going to be rocking between the Eagles and the Saints. As we talked yesterday, Saints' motivation for this one, bringing out the money in the wheelbarrows and the armed guards and the trophy. Should be a fun one to watch. The Eagles are 4-4 straight up on the road and against the spread. And if we're looking at the Saints, 6-2 straight up. Now, you do have to take that last game out where they basically benched their starter. So officially, when they're playing to win, 6-1 number in there. Saints' home games in 2018, Teddy, averaged almost 59 points per game in the Dome. And as you know, the Saints are favored by 8 with a total hovering between 50.5 to 51 out there. We ran over this game yesterday, and again, we're going to do it today. It's just going to come down to the fact, I think it's going to have to be a higher scoring game if the Eagles want to win. I don't think that Eagles defense, Ted, is going to be able to put up with a 17-14, or as we saw the Dallas Cowboys game where the Saints traveled to play the Cowboys, a 13-10 game. I think the Eagles are going to have to get into the 30-point range in order to upset the Saints in the Dome. Boy, that's a tough task, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be real. Drew Brees is not Mitch Trubisky. Okay.
Nope.
And
or Josh Johnson. Nope.
Yeah, and these are the type of QBs that we've seen Philly knocking off of late. 48-7. Hard for me to get that out of my mind. I remember the game; it was over early. Of course, that was Carson Wentz. Now we have Nick Foles, and there is some magic for Nick Foles, no question about it. And there's a big concern for me about the Saints when it comes to, is this team going to be in sync offensively off a bye week? Sean Payton doesn't have a great track record with extra time to prepare. A lot of coaches do. The Saints offense doesn't. Think back to week 1. Was that in the Fitzmagic game? Or was that the Browns game?
Yeah, week 1.
Whatever.
No, week 1. Then they struggled against the Browns the following week it was. Yeah, 21-18, I believe.
Good.
Yep, sure.
And then think off the bye week. Okay, they went to Baltimore. They got the win. If you remember the game, the offense was out of sync throughout that. And, of course, it's Ravens defense. I understand on the road off a bye. But Peyton's history with extra time to prepare has not been great. And the Saints' offense tends to be a rhythm offense. When they are in rhythm, man, they're tough to stop, as the Eagles found out the first time. When they're not in rhythm, opposing teams have a fighting chance. All that being said, I don't think that the Eagles can win this game. I'm with you without it going over the total. Philly does correlate with over in this one.
Hey, Teddy, by the way, we are gamblers here. We like to look ahead. These games haven't been played yet, but sometimes early lines get put out, especially offshore. Five Dimes has some early lines for the NFC, and one is really scratching my head because I thought the tweet came out maybe possibly an error, but I did go to the website, and it is confirmed as well. I'm not understanding this line, Teddy. The NFC Conference Final look-ahead lines. The Eagles, if they do beat and upset the New Orleans Saints on the road, and if the Dallas Cowboys do upset the Los Angeles Rams on the road, meet in Dallas, and their early line is the Eagles -3, money line -175 in that game. I thought it was an error. I still think it's an error. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that number's not right.
Because it's even on the website. I just thought somebody might have typed it in wrong, but it's up there. It's one of those where you'll get it graded back like, hey, let me take because you'd be foolish, to me, not to just blind bet that game if it happens at the home team getting 3. I can't imagine it being there, but there's some lines that always give us fodder to look at, and that was one of them that was really interesting to me.
Although that being said, I mean, there is a groundswell of support for Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I think that line's a mistake. I'd be shocked to see Philly actually -3 at Dallas in the long shot event that happens. Obviously, both teams would have to pull off the road upset this weekend. It's not a line that's likely for any of us to ever see. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles were -1 in that game or pick them in that game. I don't know that Dallas would be the favorite necessarily because there is an enormous betting bandwagon on this Philadelphia Eagles team right now. We saw it in the postseason last year. We're seeing signs of it in the postseason this year. But at -3, yeah, that one looks a good notch or two too high.
Segment 5, Teddy, off the mic. A couple quick interesting topics here before we get out of here. The NFL rumor and silly season has already begun. We're in the playoffs. We haven't even played the Super Bowl, the divisional rounds, the conference championship weekend, and already people aren't returning phone calls, angling to get out of town, meetings with head coaches and front ownership. Antonio Brown's been stated multiple times. Looks like he doesn't want to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Management now saying it's going to be hard for Antonio Brown to come back to the Steelers. Teddy, my take on this one? He is going to be with the Steelers when they play week 1 in the NFL season 2019. Leonard Fournette, we're going to take away his bonuses. You were really mad. We suspended you 1 game. He is also going to be with those Jacksonville Jaguars week 1. It's the silly season. Let it play out. Let those feelings of, real hot and bothered after the season. I want out of here. They'll calm down and come back to play. Kumbaya out there in the NFL. Don't believe what you see in the silly season, Teddy. And also, Teddy, some matters that are happening here in the NFL, some moves to take place here. Off the mic, Teddy, what do you got for us today?
All right, Antonio Brown's not going to be back in Pittsburgh. That was the Steelers team president.
No.
And so he's not going to be back there. When the Steelers team president says it will be hard to see Antonio back with the Steelers in 2019, that's meaningful. That's not some commentator. That's not some guy watching the squad.
That big Antonio Brown, that big smile will come across his face. Business is booming again, and there'll be week 1. Let's go Steelers. Oh, come on, Teddy. Feel it.
Happens in the offseason. It's not happening week 1. They'll get something for Antonio Brown. He's worth something on the trade market. He will not be back in Pittsburgh, in my take. As for Fournette, who cares? Running backs don't matter. I mean, Fournette is going to be with like he made the Jags so much better this year. The moves that matter in the offseason. Don't be fooled by, the media. The glare, Antonio Brown zooming in. Leonard Fournette zooming in. The moves that matter come in the trenches. Jeff Collins, why are the Chiefs so good? They got Jeff Collins for pennies on the dollar. He's been a monster on the offensive line. Okay, offensive line, defensive line. That's where you pay attention. Let the media fluff talk about the fantasy skill position players all offseason long while you're paying attention to what's going on in the trenches. That'll give you an edge in the NFL going into 2019 regular season.
Absolutely, Teddy. So look no further than those Indianapolis Colts with Ryan Kelly at center and Quentin Nelson at guard. One of the softer teams in the NFL. All of a sudden, one of the teams that'll punch you in the mouth. We went over our 20-minute allotment, Teddy. We can't help it. It's Football Friday. We get excited about this stuff. That betting show for January 11, 2019. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday, folks, to go over all the fallout of the divisional rounds. Jump right back into NBA and college hoop season. Once